Lesson 6.5 can be found on page 247 of your big book. We are problem solving distance, rate, and time formulas. This is a formula that actually is very functional in real life. How can you use the strategy of using a formula to solve problems involving distance, rate, and time? You can solve problems involving distance, rate, and time by using the formulas below. In each formula, D represents distance, R represents rate, which basically means the speed at which you're going. So distance, speed, rate, and time, how long you're traveling. All right, distance, rate, and time formulas. So D, for distance, you use R times T, rate times the length of time. To find rate, use rate equals distance divided by time. Another way to write that would be R equals D over T. And then for the final one, to find time, you use time equals distance divided by rate. All right, here we go. Helena travels 220 miles to visit Niagara Falls. She drives an average speed of 55 miles per hour. How long does the trip take? Use the graphic organizer to help you solve the problem. So, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find out the time, right? We're trying to find out how long she's going to be stuck in the car. So, the amount of time is what we're trying to solve for. The trip takes. So, what information do we need? We need to use the distance, because we have that information. It's 220 miles, right? To Niagara Falls. We've got that information up there. And we need to know how fast her car is going, or the rate of speed, which again is given to us 55 miles per hour. So how will I use this information? All right, so first we're going to choose the correct formula. So we're looking for time, the T, right? So if we go back up here, we find the time formula is T equals D divided by R. All right, so we're going to choose the formula T equals D divided by R, the distance divided by the rate, because I need to find time. Next, I will substitute for D and R, then I will divide, because that's the operation we have going on here, to find the time. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. First, we write the formula. T equals, time equals distance divided by rate. Next, substitute the values for distance and rate. So, we have, what is it, 220 miles to Niagara Falls, and we're dividing that by 55 miles per hour. So we rewrite the division as multiplication by the reciprocal, because remember from our chapter 2, we don't divide fractions, we do keep, change, flip. All right, so rewrite the division as multiplication by the reciprocal of 55 miles over 1 hour. So that means we're going to keep that 220 miles times, because we changed from division to multiplication. And now we're going to flip the last term. 55 goes on the bottom, 1 hour goes on top. Now we can cross cancel our miles, because one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator, and because of that we can cross cancel. We can also cross cancel our time, but I don't know how many times 55 goes into 220 off the top of my head, so I'm just going to do a little margin work over here. and I'm going to multiply by some numbers that are logical to see if they work. So 55, I'm going to start with 4 because I'm going into 200. And if I think of this as roughly 50, roughly 200, that would be 4 times. So I'm going to multiply by 4 to see if that works. So I've got 20, regroup the 2. 4 times 5 is another 20. Oh, look at that. So it is. So basically, we're cross-canceling this also. So 4 times 1 is 4 hours. Oops, they've already written in hours for us. I don't have to write it twice. 4 hours right there. 1 times 1 is 1, so I can eliminate the denominator. So the final answer is 4 hours to get to Niagara Falls. So we write that down here. So the trip takes 4 hours. So on the back side, on page 248, we're basically going to do the same thing, only perhaps get a different what we're looking for to find. All right. So Santiago's class traveled to the Museum of Natural Science for a field trip. To reach the destination, the bus traveled at a rate of 65 miles per hour for 2 hours. What distance did Santiago's class travel? So what are we searching for? We're searching for distance this time. So based on that, because we have the rate and we have the time, we're going to use this formula because we want to find out what distance equals. So we're going to use the graphic organizer to help us solve the problem. Here we go. So what do we need to find? Distance traveled. What information do I need to use? The rate equals 65 miles per hour per 1 hour. And the time equals 2 hours, right? Okay, so that's the information I need to find the distance. All right, so how am I going to use this information? So I'm going to use the formula D equals R times T. Distance equals rate times time. Then next, use, or substitute. That's a better word. Substitute let's see, 65 mi over h for the rate and 2h for time, then multiply to find distance. All right, so now we get to actually do it, set it up. So we're going to write our formula. D equals R times, whoops, not plus, times T. Now we're going to substitute in the values. So D equals, what's R? 65 mi over 1h times T is 2h over 1. And I can cross cancel my h's, but nothing else, because all I have down here are 1s, and 1 is as simple as it gets, so I can't cross simplify any numbers. So now I need to come over here, do a little margin work. Times 2, that's 10, 130. So distance equals, so 65 times 2 is 130. I look at what units I have left. Well, I have miles left. And I look at my denominator. I have nothing down here but 1, so I don't have to write anything. So my final answer is 130 miles is how far they traveled that day. All right. So we write our final answer down here. So Santiago's class traveled 130 miles for that field trip. All right, go ahead and copy the notes into your notebook and take a look at the PMT and give it a try.